Something strange just happened in the WNBA. A young superstar sat down in front of a microphone and calmly said the league needed to keep playing basketball, that the season mattered, that the game had to stay on the court if the league wanted to keep growing. Completely reasonable, completely professional, completely mature. But here's where it gets interesting. A few months earlier, another player said almost the exact same thing. Same message, same logic, same warning about protecting the future of the league. The reactions could not have been more different. When Caitlin Clark delivered that message, the response was explosive. Critics accused her of undermining the union. Fans claimed she was siding with ownership. The conversation spiraled for weeks. When Paige Bueckers stepped forward and delivered nearly the identical message, silence. No outrage. No viral criticism. No heated debates dominating sports media. Just silence. And in today's internet era, silence can be louder than any headline. Within hours of fans noticing the contrast, the debate exploded across basketball social media. Screenshots circulating, old clips resurfacing, quotes placed side by side like evidence in a courtroom. Was this a double standard? Was the reaction shaped by media narratives, personal loyalties, or something deeper happening inside the league? Because this moment didn't appear out of nowhere. And once you understand what's actually happening behind the scenes, the entire situation looks very different. To understand why this moment sparked such a massive debate, you have to understand what the WNBA is going through right now. The league is experiencing something it has never seen before: momentum. For years, the WNBA built its foundation steadily: loyal fans, talented players, slow, consistent growth. Then something changed. Women's basketball exploded into the mainstream sports conversation almost overnight. College stars became national celebrities. Games drew massive television audiences. Arena attendance climbed. Merchandise sold out. Social media turned several players into global figures. And at the center of that surge, one name drove more attention than anyone else: Caitlin Clark. Clark's arrival didn't just bring talent to the court. It brought revenue. Road arenas that had never sold out for WNBA games became must-have tickets. Television ratings surged whenever she appeared on the schedule. Corporate brands rushed to align themselves with the league. And when revenue grows, players start asking one question: if the league is making more money, shouldn't the players share in that growth? That question is exactly what pushed the WNBA Players Association and league ownership into one of the most intense labor negotiations in the league's history. Veterans who spent years building the foundation believe this is their moment to push for massive financial progress. Ownership is balancing long-term sustainability against immediate demands. And right in the middle of that tension, two young stars said almost the same thing and got completely different reactions. When reporters asked Clark about the negotiations and the possibility of a strike, everyone leaned in. Would she support the union's toughest demands? Would she criticize ownership? Would she stay neutral? Instead, she said something that sounded less like a typical athlete answer and more like someone thinking about the bigger picture. She talked about the incredible growth women's basketball was experiencing. She talked about how rare this moment was. And then she made the point that would trigger everything. The league needed to keep playing. Not because players shouldn't negotiate hard, not because financial progress didn't matter, but because the product itself, the games, the visibility, the momentum, was what allowed the league to grow in the first place. If games stopped, that growth could slow down. Fans might move on. Sponsors might hesitate. Simple, practical, focused on protecting what the league had built. But within hours, the reaction shifted dramatically. Certain voices online claimed the comment undermined the union. Others suggested Clark didn't understand the financial struggles veterans had faced throughout their careers. Critics pointed to her endorsement deals and argued she was speaking from a place of financial privilege that most players didn't share. The debate spread across sports talk shows, podcasts, and social media platforms for weeks. And then, months later, Paige Bueckers sat down and said almost the exact same thing. Bueckers was calm and thoughtful. She talked about wanting the negotiations to work, about professionalism, about players wanting a season, wanting to keep competing, wanting to handle the situation the right way. For many viewers, the message sounded perfectly reasonable. For others, it sounded incredibly familiar. Within minutes of the interview circulating online, fans began making comparisons. Old Clark clips started resurfacing everywhere. People placed the quotes side by side. Clark had said the league needed to keep playing. Bueckers said the players wanted a season. Clark emphasized protecting the WNBA's momentum. Bueckers emphasized professionalism and continuing to compete. Different wording, almost identical logic. One viral post summed up the entire debate in a single sentence. Same message, different reaction, and that line spread everywhere. Some fans believed the contrast exposed a clear bias in how certain players are treated by media narratives. Others argued the context was different, that Clark's comments came at a more sensitive moment in negotiations when tensions were higher. Others said Bueckers had framed her message more carefully, but regardless of which side people took, one thing became impossible to deny. The debate about who gets criticized and who gets protected in the WNBA had become the biggest conversation in women's basketball, and it was about to get even more complicated. Just as the Clark-Bueckers comparison was dominating social media, another voice stepped forward and shifted the entire debate in a new direction. Natasha Cloud. Cloud has never been quiet. Throughout her career, she has spoken openly about social issues, league policies, and player treatment. So when the conversation turned to CBA negotiations, it wasn't surprising she had something to say. Her point was direct. The proposed salary increases sounded significant on paper, but they didn't tell the full story. Once taxes are deducted, once housing costs in major cities are factored in, once everyday expenses are calculated, the actual take-home number looks very different from the headline figure. She argued that financial discussions needed to consider the real cost of living in the expensive markets where teams play. The internet split immediately. Supporters believed Cloud was highlighting a genuine reality, that players deserve compensation reflecting both the league's growth and the economic demands of professional life in major cities. Critics argued the focus on taxes and housing costs sounded disconnected from the financial realities most fans face every day. Nearly everyone deals with taxes. Nearly everyone in a major city pays high rent. Both sides had a point, but beyond the surface argument, something deeper was being revealed. Because what fans were actually watching wasn't just a contract negotiation, it was a generational debate playing out in public. On one side, veterans who spent years building the WNBA during its hardest seasons, players who traveled overseas every offseason just to supplement their incomes, players who competed for years when the arenas were half empty, and the league rarely appeared in national sports conversations. For those veterans, this moment represents everything they worked for. The league is finally generating real revenue. Corporate partners are finally paying attention. Television money is finally growing, and they believe this is exactly the moment to push hard for the financial rewards that reflect all of those difficult years. On the other side, a new generation entering the league during its biggest surge in popularity. Players like Clark and Bueckers who arrived carrying massive fan bases from their college careers. Players who stepped into a WNBA that already had sold-out arenas and national media coverage. That generation understands something slightly different. The momentum the league is experiencing right now is rare. Protecting it matters just as much as capitalizing on it. More fans means bigger television deals. Bigger television deals means larger salary caps. Larger salary caps means better contracts for everyone, but only if the league keeps growing. Neither perspective is wrong. Both sides want the same ultimate outcome, a stronger league where players are compensated fairly, but they approach the strategy differently. Veterans believe pressure is necessary right now. Young stars believe stability is critical right now. And when those two approaches collide during sensitive negotiations, public comments become flashpoints. The Clark-Bueckers comparison wasn't really about two players saying similar things. It was about two different philosophies inside the same league, and which one the internet was willing to accept. Here's the bigger picture underneath all of this. The WNBA is standing at one of the most important crossroads in its history. The spotlight has never been brighter. The financial opportunity has never been larger. New fans are discovering the sport every week. Corporate partners are paying attention in ways they never have before. But momentum like this is fragile. History has shown that sports leagues don't get unlimited chances to capture the public's attention. When that attention arrives, how it's managed determines whether the growth continues or quietly fades. Push too hard and the momentum stalls. Push too little and players miss the chance to secure better compensation for the growth they helped create. That's the impossible balance both sides are trying to find right now. The Clark-Bueckers double standard debate. The cloud salary conversation. The generational divide between veterans and younger stars. These aren't separate stories. They're all part of the same question. Who gets to define the future of the WNBA? And whoever answers that question will shape women's basketball for the next decade. Do you think the reaction to Clark and Bueckers revealed a real double standard? Should players push harder for bigger salaries right now, or is protecting the league's momentum the priority? Drop your take in the comments. We read every single one. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep dive breakdowns on the biggest stories shaping women's basketball. We'll see you on the next one.